The Aston Martin DB7, considered by many to be one of the world's best-looking cars. But why is it so special? This week, three of the Carfile team, John Stanley, Mike Rutherford and Ian Royle, tell us why the DB7 has a unique place in automotive history reserved for it, and how does it compare to, say, the Jaguar XK8.
This is Weston Manor in Oxfordshire. It's originally the home of 11th century monks. It's now a thriving hotel called Weston Manor, and it manages to combine the power of history with the panelled rooms. It's even got its own ghost called Maud. It has everything you would expect of a period house, and yet at the same time offers modern facilities without which it wouldn't hold its customers. The panelling, of course, wasn't original. It was added somewhat later, and by all accounts the ghost was really a local lady who came to entertain the monks. And what's this got to do with motor cars? Well, we're expecting much the same of our current crop of sporting pedigreed motor cars. There are lots of pieces of history woven into them and lots of criticisms because there is. Come and see for yourself what we have through this arch. Here we have two motoring legends, both trading heavily on their pasts and both attacking the modern marketplace ferociously. There's a difference. It's about £40,000, and if you're a fan of one or the other, you feel pretty strongly. The one thing is certain, that until now, these two cars haven't been shown together very often because they do look so similar. In the blue corner, we have the XK8, Jaguar's new glamorous car, complete with its brand new V8 engine and carrying those famous XK initials that is part of its history. And in the silver corner, we have the DB7, the seriously glamorous, best-selling Aston Martin, complete with its 3.2 supercharged engine, equally well trading on its DB past. Considering the £40,000 price difference between them, they're not really rivals, and yet they are in exactly the same market. Which is best? Which would suit you if you were dreaming? In 1961, Jaguar launched the E-Type in Geneva, the motor show. And with all the suitable show business finesse, they did the same thing again in 1996 with the XK8. The basic bestseller that they have achieved in sports car terms until this car was the XKS, and the XKS platform was central to the design of this car. They have provided a beautiful new body and a lot of sex on the road, but it is genuinely a grand tourer. It dismisses itself as a sports car because it has a big boot, a boot that you can take all your weekend stuff away in as well as your other half. The inside is everything you would expect a Jaguar to be. It is beautifully fitted, which is a change because some of their previous cars fell apart. Their electrics used to be bad news. Now, I'm pleased to say, the inside is lovely. There are all the features you expect. There's the veneer, there is the leather trim, there is the carpet. Some of it's a little on the tacky side. Steering wheel is a good case in point. There's no real need for part wood, part leather, unless it wants to look good in a brochure. The travelling in this machine is splendid. It is extremely comfortable. The suspension has set itself up as a touring car, and really, although it looks like an outright sports car, it is a very grand means of transport. The pedals are nicely placed. There is a huge rest for your left foot for these long journeys where you don't need to be doing a lot. There is excellent audio facilities with controls on the wheels, so you can move your audio up and down and answer your phone and play all the games that Jaguar drivers like to. The air conditioning is clean and simple. It's very easy to dial up and down with just one knob. It's a fully automatic box, 5-speed, and to many people that's a shame with Jaguars. But in fact, their J-Gate gives you the option of either. In manual form, it's not really as fast or as enjoyable as a manual box could be, but in truth, kept in sport, it really is a lively drive without having to be busy. Needless to say, there are a lot of buttons and dials and all the things you'd expect. There is one which as yet I haven't figured out. It's called Valley, and it's here. I haven't had a drink served yet. And in the rear, there is at least a token space. I have driven the automatic convertible, and there you don't have that space facility because it's all hood. But right now in the coupe, you do have usable space, whether it's for suitcases or those tiny children with no legs. And under this bonnet, we have the really serious news. This is Jaguar's beautiful new V8 engine. It creates 290 brake horse. It's a 4-litre machine, and it is silky smooth. Just come and see. Now, driving this Jaguar is definitely an experience. You get the feeling that it's a sports car. You have the long bonnet, you have the big sexy wheel, all the instrumentation you want around you, and yet, in fact, the gear changes are so smooth that you really don't know which gear you're in. It just glides. If you want fun, then clearly you've got to behave yourself, because these cars are not really for the road at full speed. But if you do drop it down a cog or two, and you do start listening to this lovely V8 that is the first Jaguars have actually created, then you can understand why the sporting enthusiast is celebrating what was originally going to be called the F-Type. It in fact has in midsection quite a lot that it borrows from the race car, the XK813, which actually never made it into production. It's a very smooth package, and it is wonderful for long road journeys where you don't want to concentrate all the time on driving, but when you do want a bit of fun and you drop it down a gig, you can push it. And the revs climb, and it's fun suddenly. So that was Jaguar's offering, and this is the Aston Martin. Yes, it's based on the same platform. It was still an XKS in its nucleus. But this was designed by Ian Cullen, who had a DB4 in the design studio with him throughout for his own inspiration and to make sure that he perpetrated all the same things. These lines on the sides, which were on those cars, the headlight fairings, all the same styling codes. The style is beautiful, it's slippery, it's very, very fast. But it does trade on the past. Its Grand Touring credentials are adequate. They're not as good as the Jaguars, but they are weekend equipment at the very least. And inside, well, they've managed most of the tradition, along with a few little extras like veneer, which not too many Aston Martin fans seem to remember having. The control panel is functional and it's traditional. They're lovely, beautiful dials. They look and feel like Aston Martin, and they tell you exactly what you want to know. Some of the other information's a little more confused. The radio and cassette deck are definitely not belonging in this car. I can't get a cassette in if you're in top gear or you're in first gear, and on a motorway that's not ideal. The door handles are definitely a surprise. Anyone who owns a Mazda MX-5 will recognise them instantly. They don't belong on an £80,000 Grand Tourer. As to the pedals, they're a serious shock. There is no rest on the left for these long journeys you're apparently able to do in this car, and the throttle, which inevitably is going to be somewhere near the floor, if you are in trouble, you can't get it past the brake. They've taken the corner off it to try and assist you, but it's a very long way up and over, and every time you catch it. And under here is definitely Aston's pride and joy. It is a 3.2 supercharged engine. It's twin cam. It's built by Tom Walkinshaw. It is a real flyer. It's definitely what you're buying. Now this one may cost an awful lot more money than the opposition, but when you actually start stirring these gears, you know why. The supercharged engine develops over 300 brake horse, and it's there all the way through. It doesn't have the excitement of a turbocharger which will suddenly give you a belt in the back. It's there right the way through. And if you love motoring, and if you've ever dreamt of an Aston Martin, this is definitely the one. I've driven this car and the Jaguar for 1,000 miles for next year's Stanley Classic Car Yearbook, trying to judge whether they genuinely are future classics, or whether they're just trading on the past. It seems, having had both of them for a serious period now, that both of them have succeeded, just as that hotel has, in encompassing the ghosts from the past and the best of what is in the future. It really is a delight to drive a car like this, and thank God Ford have put the money into both of them. So, which one would you buy? There's definitely horses for courses. There are followers of Jaguar and followers of Aston Martin, and those people will always be sure which they would buy. The truth is that these are both grand touring cars. The Jaguar will undoubtedly take you from A to B in great style and great comfort, and you'll arrive the other end quickly and safely. The Aston Martin, truthfully, is flawed. It will do the same thing. It will be a little bit more rugged about getting you there. The gearbox is definitely a bit of a struggle. The pedals are a bit of a maze. But if your passion is for driving hard and the corners invite you, then in the end it's going to be the Aston. There isn't a clear winner between these two because they are genuinely designed for different markets. A very shrewd Ford Motor Company saw that both these companies needed more money than they could individually justify. They've used a basic idea and taken it in two different directions. And it's the Ford Motor Company who are in the end the winners, because they have found in the Aston Martin DB7 their all-time best-selling Aston. It's a younger age group than the other Aston drivers, and therefore they will keep them. And with Jaguar, they have done exactly the same thing. The Jaguar is now the best-selling Jaguar sports car of all time, and both these are new. Just like Maud, who haunts this place, so the histories of Aston Martin and Jaguar are haunting these two models. We don't mind that any more than we mind the ghost or the panel room. We enjoy those elements of the past, as long as the service and what you get from them is good. And with both these two, Ford have definitely found winners.
After the break, the delights of the Aston Martin DB7 are discovered by Mike Rutherford and Ian Royle. Join us for part 2 of Car File.
You, like me, probably dream of what you'd do if you won the lottery this weekend. A cool £2 or £3 million would do the trick nicely. There'd be that dream house and then the tricky decision of which supercar to buy. Ferrari, Porsche, Bentley, or how about this, the Aston Martin DB7 Volante at a cost of a cool £90,000. But is this Aston Martin really a good choice in terms of living with the car and driving it? Well, there's no doubt it is a beautiful car to look at. Perhaps not as beautiful as the coupe, but once the hood goes down, you get some very envious looks from passers-by, believe me, and lovely little details like this. I was quite surprised at how small the car actually looks. I expected it to be much longer. Now, the engineers at Bloxham, just outside Banbury, where the car is built, made significant developments over the coupe, and that includes 600 new components, many of which have now found themselves into the DB7 coupe too. Now, when you cut the roof off a car, obviously you lose a lot of rigidity, and that's why reinforcements, cross braces and gussets have been added to the Volante, plus a softer suspension aimed particularly at the US market. So where does the name DB7 actually come from? Well, DB are the initials of Aston Martin's founder, David Brown, who ran an engineering firm and then went on to actually make tractors. It was during the 50s and 60s that Aston Martin really took off, with a Le Mans victory in 1959, and then production of classics like the DB4, 5 and 6. And of course, James Bond's favourite of those was that DB5. After the war, Aston Martin were not in the healthiest of positions and were put up for sale at a relatively bargain price. David Brown went along and was impressed with a prototype they'd call the Atom, but it was crying out for a better engine. Another great pre-war marque, Lagonda, also caught David Brown's eye. And for two of its engineers, Willie Watson and Donald Baston, under the supervision of W.O. Bentley, the father of Bentley Motors and mastermind behind their great Le Mans victories, they designed an excellent new straight-six engine for Lagonda. Now this engine caught David Brown's eye, and after some protracted negotiations, Aston Martin and Lagonda came under the same umbrella. Now under the bonnet of the DB7 is that 3.2 litre straight-six engine coupled with the Eaton supercharger. It produces 335 brake horsepower, and although the Volante is a lot heavier than the coupe, still produces a very respectable 0 to 60 time of 6.5 seconds, top speed of over 150 miles per hour. Now for me, this manual gearbox is far too much like hard work. The clutch is fairly heavy and gear shifting needs precision and care, and personally I definitely choose the automatic box. Now the hood is very simple and easy to open and goes down even faster than Monica Lewinsky, allegedly anyway. You just release these two catches here, push them back, press the button, and it glides perfectly back into place. You don't get that snug fit that you do on the Mercedes SL because the designers wanted that all-important space in the back for two sets of golf clubs. Now little niggles about the DB7 which apply both to the coupe and to the Volante. These dreadful switches here, which believe it or not are actually for the cruise control, although you'd never believe it, not only do they look naff, they don't tell you what they do, and that applies to the other switches on the dashboard too. Also the rear seats are nothing short of useless, to be honest. You can get very small children in there for a very short space of time, but you wonder on a car like this why they even bother to put rear seats in. Also the radio cassette machine, great radio cassette machine, but when you're cruising on the motorway in fifth like that, you can't change cassettes, which is rather irritating. There's also very little space in the footwells for the driver. The pedals are quite severely offset, I've found. There is space there to rest your foot whilst you're cruising on the motorway, but no footrest. And also it's not a car for men with big feet. Shortly before he died, David Brown saw the new DB7 project and gave it his seal of approval, bringing the DB connection full circle to the new golden era in Aston Martin's revival under Ford.
Well, here we are at a very wet, glorious Goodwood, and I'm about to go out and play with £80,000 worth of Aston Martin DB7. Ta-da! Harry, Aston Martin is enjoying probably its best year for many, many years. What do you think is the reason for that success?
I think it's due entirely to the DB7. If you look back in 1992, we made exactly 66 motor cars. Last year we made 723. The dealer body's gone from 43 in 1993 to over 100 now, so it is due entirely to the DB7.
So where are all these buyers coming from? They weren't there before. Where have they appeared from?
A lot of them in the United States. We relaunched ourselves into the States beginning this year. They are now taking over 30% of all the DB7s that we can make, and in fact 70% of the DB7s we've sold in the States so far have all been the convertible model.
And what is it? Do you think it's the Britishness of that car? It sounds like you're exploiting it.
It's, I would suggest exclusivity. It's handmade, it's British craftsmanship, it is traditional. And you have to say, if you live in the United States or almost anywhere in the world, if you own an Aston, the chances of your seeing another one are extremely remote. In fact, if you want to see another Aston, you go off and join the owners club.
This term handmade is often talked about, but I mean, what does that mean in layman's terms? What does handmade mean in the Aston Martin context?
Handmade means each part being fitted by hand, not a robot in sight. It's left to the perception and the judgment of the man who assembles the car to make sure that we maintain the quality. Sure, we use everything that we can to measure that quality electronically, but ultimately it's down to the perception and the judgment of the craftsman who puts the car together for you.
We're talking good old-fashioned craftsmanship.
Yes, you're talking sort of skill and integrity, really. I mean, case in point, it takes 2.5 hours to fit the engine into the chassis. It's done very carefully because it's an extremely tight fit under the bonnet.
The great thing about this job is that I sit inside an £82,500 car with lots of walnut and leather and British opulence, and the film crew stand in the brain.
Carfile was at the Detroit show to see the unveiling of the next generation of Aston Martin, the Vantage.
We've tried to take some of the classic Aston themes and refresh them and restate them in a modern way, and I'm glad you think we've succeeded.
You're obviously working in a close partnership with Ford, and how much of their technology will go into this? Because it's a fast, high-performance thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but we're not going to make it. This is a concept and we're going to use it as a rolling laboratory. But the answer to your question is Ford have helped us tremendously. We already work on the DB7 with Ford in the area of electronics, composite materials, engine and gearbox. So we get a tremendous amount of support. What Ford get is that we can demonstrate technology on a car which is low volume and sells worldwide. So if you like, we can be a technology demonstrator for them. So it's a good partnership. It's a good partnership.
Yeah, it is, it's important. So what about some of the statistics then? Because it's a real high performance vehicle, isn't it?
Well, we haven't driven it that hard yet, and we've done very few miles, but what we can do, because we've got very good software, is that we can predict this car will exceed 200 miles an hour, and the 0 to 60 time will be around 4 seconds. Standing quarter in about, well, I don't know, exit the standing quarter at 140 miles an hour. So it should be quick enough for most of our customers.
There's a very strong motorsport influence there, and I believe that Jackie Stewart's Grand Prix team have been involved along the way. Is that true?
Well, the technology we share, the main technology is probably the paddle shift. So you can actually change gear by working paddles on the steering wheel without taking a hand off the wheel. So it's good for safety as well as for very fast gear changes.
This is a big boy's toy, isn't it, Bob?
To some degree, all Astons are big boys' toys in the sense that they're for people who are successful, who are modern, who are international, and who love quality things. So yes, if you want to describe it that way, yes.